Lena stood at the edge of the village platform, her small suitcase in hand, and looked at the long, shining train before her. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. The velvet carriage, as everyone in the village called it, gleamed in the morning sun. Its polished wood reflected light like glass, and the soft red velvet lining of the windows gave it an air of elegance. Lena had dreamed of riding this train ever since she first heard about it. Today, she would finally travel to the capital to continue her studies, leaving behind the quiet life of her village. Her heart thumped with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She stepped onto the train carefully, making sure her suitcase did not scrape against the polished floor. Inside, the carriage smelled faintly of wood polish and fresh linens. The seats were deep and comfortable, upholstered in red velvet that looked as soft as clouds. Lena chose a seat by the window, so she could watch the landscape as the train moved. She ran her fingers lightly over the fabric, imagining the stories that had passed through this carriage over the years. As she settled in, a young man entered the carriage. He had a friendly face and kind eyes that seemed to notice everything around him. He carried a small satchel, and his clothes, though simple, were neatly pressed. Lena noticed him looking around, a little unsure, and offered a polite smile. "Hello," he said gently, stepping closer. "Is this seat taken?" "No, you can sit here," Lena replied, her voice slightly trembling. The young man smiled and introduced himself. "I'm Kai. I'm traveling to the capital to present an invention at the City Academy. It's my first time on this train too." Lena's eyes widened in surprise. "An invention? That sounds exciting. I'm Lena. I'm going to study at the capital's School for Learning. I love books and knowledge." Kai's smile grew wider. "That's wonderful. Maybe you can help me understand my invention better. I sometimes get so caught in the technical side that I forget to explain it clearly." Their conversation flowed naturally, like water moving over smooth stones. Lena felt at ease with him. She realized that despite being strangers, they shared a common love for learning and curiosity. The train began to move, slowly at first, and then faster. Lena pressed her hands against the glass window and watched the village fade away. Fields stretched endlessly, dotted with small streams and clusters of trees. She felt as if the world was opening up in front of her, full of possibilities. Kai noticed her gaze and said softly, "It's beautiful, isn't it? I always imagine what lies beyond these fields." "Yes," Lena replied. "I sometimes wonder what I can do to make the world better. Learning is my way of preparing for that." Kai nodded. "For me, creating something useful is my way. Maybe one day, we can do both, learn and create together." The train rattled over the tracks, and Lena laughed softly at the small bumps. Kai laughed too, and the sound made the space between them feel lighter. Other passengers moved around, chatting or reading, but Lena and Kai remained focused on their conversation. They talked about their childhoods, their favorite books, and their dreams for the future. Each story made them more curious about each other. Soon, the train entered a stretch of forest. Sunlight filtered through the tall trees, creating patterns on the velvet seats. Lena noticed how Kai's eyes brightened as he pointed out small details: a bird perched on a branch, a squirrel running up a tree. His excitement was infectious. She felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of friendship forming in these few hours of travel. As evening approached, the carriage lights glowed softly. Lena looked around and realized she had forgotten about her nervousness. The train, the journey, and the company of Kai had made her feel brave. For the first time, she believed that she could face the challenges of the capital. The velvet carriage was not just a train, it was a bridge to new experiences, new knowledge, and perhaps, new friendships. When the conductor announced the first stop for a short break, Lena and Kai smiled at each other. They both knew this was only the beginning of their journey, not just on the train, but in life. The velvet carriage moved steadily forward, and Lena leaned back in her soft seat, feeling hopeful. The road ahead was unknown, but for the first time, she felt ready to embrace it. The train had left the forest behind, and the fields stretched wide under the clear blue sky. Lena watched the wind ripple over the tall grasses, feeling the freedom of the journey. Kai sat across from her, holding a small notebook filled with sketches and notes. He was explaining his invention, a small device meant to help students learn faster, in simple words so Lena could understand. It works by showing the most important ideas clearly, Kai said, pointing to a diagram. I want every child to have a chance to learn easily, even if they do not have a big school or many teachers. Lena leaned closer, curious. That is amazing. I never thought learning could be made easier like this. You are helping so many people, Kai. Kai smiled and looked down at his notebook. I hope so. But sometimes I worry if it will work. I don't want to fail. Lena placed her hand gently on his notebook. Failure is part of learning. You are brave for trying. That's more important than being perfect. Kai looked at her with admiration. You are right, Lena. I can see why you love learning so much. You understand it with your heart. The train rattled along the tracks, carrying them through hills and meadows. Lena noticed how Kai's excitement grew when he talked about his invention. She realized that this journey was not just about reaching the capital, it was also about discovering each other's passions and dreams. She shared stories about the small school in her village, where children sat under trees or in a tiny room to learn reading and writing. She explained how she wanted to create books that would help children everywhere. Kai listened with genuine interest, nodding and asking questions. Do you think your books could reach children far from cities, like my invention? He asked. Yes, Lena said, smiling. That is my dream. Maybe we can help each other. The carriage grew quiet as passengers rested or read. The sunlight slanted through the windows, painting patterns on the velvet seats. Lena noticed a small group of children outside, waving at the passing train. She waved back, and Kai joined her. Their laughter carried softly through the carriage, and Lena felt the simple joy of shared curiosity. Later, the train passed a small river, sparkling like silver under the sun. Lena and Kai stood by the window together, pointing out the fish jumping and the ducks swimming. They spoke in whispers, careful not to disturb other passengers, but their voices were filled with wonder. This is beautiful, Lena said. I have never seen water shine like this. Kai nodded. Nature teaches us many things if we watch carefully. Even a small river has a story. As evening approached, clouds painted the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. Lena and Kai returned to their seats, still talking. The carriage lights glowed softly, casting a warm atmosphere around them. They shared their favorite books and talked about the lessons they had learned from them. Lena discovered that Kai loved stories about inventors and explorers, while Kai learned that Lena adored stories about brave people who helped others. A sudden rumble of thunder startled the passengers. Rain began to fall, tapping lightly on the carriage roof. Lena looked outside, watching the raindrops run down the glass. Some passengers frowned at the storm, but Lena felt calm. She realized that the journey, with all its surprises, was teaching her more than any classroom could. Kai noticed her calmness. "Are you afraid of the storm?" he asked. Lena shook her head. "No. The train is strong, and we are safe. Sometimes, small storms help us see things differently." Kai smiled, feeling inspired by her courage. "You are very brave, Lena. I like being near you." Lena blushed slightly but smiled back. She felt a growing trust in Kai, a sense that they could face challenges together. The storm passed, leaving a rainbow across the sky. Lena pointed it out, and Kai followed her finger. They both laughed, amazed at the colors stretching across the horizon. The rest of the journey passed with more stories, more laughter, and quiet moments of shared reflection. By the time the train slowed for the next station, Lena felt that the long hours had flown by. She realized that this journey on the velvet carriage was teaching her not only about the world but also about friendship, trust, and courage. As the train stopped, Lena and Kai looked at each other and smiled. They knew this was only the beginning. The carriage had brought them together, and the adventure was far from over. Each mile carried them closer to the capital, and each conversation carried them closer to understanding each other. The morning sun filtered gently through the windows, casting long golden stripes across the velvet seats. Lena stretched and yawned, feeling refreshed after a good night's rest on the train. She glanced out the window and saw a wide forest stretching into the distance. The beauty of the landscape always made her heart race with excitement. Kai was already awake, sitting at the table with his small notebook open. He was sketching ideas for his invention while occasionally glancing out at the passing scenery. Lena moved closer, curiosity shining in her eyes. "What are you drawing now?" she asked. Kai looked up and smiled. "I'm trying to improve a part of my invention so it can reach more students. But I'm not sure if this idea will work." Lena leaned over to see. "It looks interesting. Maybe if you add this part here," she suggested, pointing carefully, "it could help it function better." Kai considered her suggestion thoughtfully. "You're right. I hadn't thought about that. You have a good way of seeing things differently." The train rattled over the tracks, and Lena felt a thrill in her chest. Every mile brought them closer to the capital, but also gave them more time to talk, laugh, and learn from each other. Their conversations flowed naturally, touching on everything from dreams and hopes to favorite stories from childhood. Suddenly, the train jerked sharply, and a loud noise echoed through the carriages. Lena grabbed the edge of her seat, startled. Kai quickly stood beside her. "It's probably a small problem with the tracks," he said calmly. "We should stay calm and see what the conductor says." The passengers murmured nervously as the train slowed to a stop in a remote area. Trees surrounded them on all sides, and the nearest station was far away. Lena felt a flicker of fear, but Kai's calm presence reassured her. After a few minutes, the conductor announced that a small mechanical issue had stopped the train. Repair would take some time, and the passengers would need to remain on board for safety. Some children on the train grew restless and anxious. Lena noticed them peering through the windows, worried about the forest outside. Kai leaned close to her and whispered, "We can help. Maybe we can make this time useful for everyone." Lena nodded. Together, they began organizing simple games and activities for the children to keep them calm. They used scraps of paper and pencils to draw, play word games, and tell short stories. The children laughed and became absorbed in the fun, forgetting the long wait outside. Lena felt a warm glow inside. Helping others made her feel strong and useful. Soon, Lena noticed a small group of children near the edge of the forest. They seemed lost and frightened. Without hesitation, she told Kai, "We need to help them get back safely." Kai agreed immediately. Together, they gathered some volunteers from the passengers and guided the children carefully toward the train. Lena held the hand of the smallest child, while Kai led the way with confident steps. The children trusted them instantly, sensing their calm and kind energy. When the children were safely back on the train, the passengers clapped softly, impressed by Lena and Kai's leadership. Lena's heart raced with excitement and pride. Kai looked at her with admiration, and she felt a spark of something deeper than friendship. Later, as the train started moving again, Lena and Kai sat side by side, sharing a quiet moment. The forest had given way to rolling hills and rivers glinting in the afternoon sun. Lena rested her head lightly against the window, feeling safe and happy. Kai noticed her thoughtful expression. "You were very brave back there," he said softly. "I think everyone feels safer when you are near." Lena smiled shyly. "I just wanted to help. And you were amazing too. You stayed calm and guided everyone. I think I learned a lot from you today." Kai's eyes met hers, and for a brief moment, the rest of the world seemed to disappear. Lena felt a connection she had never felt before, a quiet understanding that they could rely on each other no matter what challenges came their way. The train continued its journey, rolling through green hills and sparkling streams. Lena and Kai talked more about their dreams, imagining ways to help children in villages, improve schools, and share knowledge. Each idea seemed brighter and more exciting because they shared it together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lena realized that this day full of small challenges and small victories had changed her. The velvet carriage had become more than just a train. It was a place where courage, friendship, and trust could grow. And at her side, Kai had become someone who inspired her, challenged her, and made her feel that anything was possible. They leaned back in their seats, watching the sun dip behind the hills, both silently understanding that this journey was teaching them not just about the world, but about each other. The velvet carriage rolled smoothly through the late morning countryside, and Lena felt a quiet excitement in her chest. The events of the previous day, the small derailment, helping the children, and working together with Kai had left her feeling both proud and tired. She leaned back in her velvet seat, watching the hills ripple by like green waves. Beside her, Kai scribbled in his notebook, his brow furrowed in concentration. Lena's curiosity got the better of her. "Kai," she asked gently, "what exactly will your invention do once it reaches the schools?" Kai looked up, a small smile on his face. "It is meant to help children understand lessons more clearly. Many schools, especially in villages, do not have enough teachers or books. This device shows the main ideas of each lesson in a simple way. I want every child to have a chance to learn easily." Lena's eyes lit up. "That is wonderful. You are not just making an invention, you are helping people. You are giving children hope." Kai's face softened. "Thank you, Lena. That is exactly why I do it. But I worry sometimes, what if it doesn't work? What if it isn't enough?" Lena placed her hand lightly on his arm. "If you try with all your heart, it will be enough. Even small steps can make a big difference." For a while, they sat in comfortable silence, each thinking about their own dreams and how they could help others. Then, as the train slowed for a brief stop at a small station, Kai leaned closer. "There is something I want to tell you," he said quietly. "I haven't shared this with many people, but I lost my family when I was very young. Education became my way forward. It is the reason I work so hard to create this invention. Lena listened carefully, her heart softening. She reached out and held his hand for a brief moment. I am so sorry, Kai. But I understand. Education changed my life too. It gave me hope and a reason to dream. I think that is why we understand each other so well. Kai looked at her with deep appreciation. Yes. I feel that too. You care about learning not just for yourself, but for others. That is rare, Lena. Lena felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that her admiration for Kai was growing into something more. His dedication, kindness, and courage inspired her in ways she had not expected. As the train moved again, Lena decided to open up as well. Kai, she said softly, I sometimes worry that I might fail in my studies. I fear I might not be able to help others the way I hope to. But meeting you, it makes me believe I can try, and maybe even succeed. Kai squeezed her hand gently. You will succeed, Lena. You are brave and kind, and you never give up. That is why you will make a difference. The train glided through fields of wildflowers, their colors bright under the morning sun. Lena and Kai shared stories of their childhoods, their favorite teachers, and the books that had shaped them. Lena told Kai about the tiny school in her village where she had learned to read under the shade of a tree, and Kai shared memories of the workshops where he had built his first small inventions. Passengers walked past, nodding politely at them, but Lena and Kai hardly noticed. In the quiet of the carriage, they felt a bond forming, a deep understanding that went beyond words. When the train entered a long stretch of forest, Lena noticed how Kai's eyes brightened as he pointed out birds, flowers, and unusual trees. Nature teaches us in ways schools cannot, he said softly. Even small details can inspire big ideas. Lena smiled. Yes. That is why I love learning everywhere, not just in books. Everything has a lesson, if we pay attention. As the afternoon passed, the train carried them through mountains and rivers. Lena and Kai continued their discussions, brainstorming ways to improve education in villages and towns. Every idea sparked the other, and their excitement grew together. The shared vision of helping others gave them a sense of purpose beyond the journey itself. By evening, the carriage glowed with the soft light of the lamps. Lena and Kai leaned back, feeling the rhythmic motion of the train beneath them. The conversation turned quieter, reflective. They both realized that in each other, they had found not just a friend, but a partner in ideas, dreams, and perhaps, in life itself. As the train rolled on, Lena looked out the window at the stars beginning to appear. She knew that the journey ahead would be full of challenges, but she felt a quiet confidence. With Kai beside her, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The velvet carriage had become more than a train, it was a place where courage, trust, and hope could grow. The morning sunlight filled the velvet carriage as Lena stretched and looked around. The train was quieter than usual, with most passengers resting after the long journey of the previous day. Lena noticed Kai already awake, leaning over his notebook and sketching ideas for his invention. The quiet motion of the train and the soft light made the carriage feel calm and cozy. Good morning, Lena said softly, taking her seat across from him. Good morning, Kai replied, smiling. I was thinking about yesterday and how we helped the children. It made me feel proud, but also inspired. I want to do more. Lena nodded. Yes, it was wonderful. I think we work well together. We can help even more children if we continue sharing ideas. Kai's eyes brightened. Would you like to help me with some of my plans? I want to make learning easier for children everywhere, not just in the city. Your ideas about books could help too. Lena smiled. I would love that. I think we can learn from each other and make something really special. They spent the morning sketching plans, writing ideas, and talking about the ways they could combine education and invention. Kai showed Lena a small prototype of his device, explaining how it could highlight the most important points in a lesson. Lena suggested ways to add stories and examples, making the lessons more fun and easier to understand. Their excitement grew as they realized how their talents complemented each other. At one point, the conductor announced that the train would stop briefly at a station where passengers could stretch their legs. Lena and Kai decided to walk through the carriages, noticing how different passengers reacted to the small delays. Some children ran about, laughing and shouting, while older passengers read quietly or talked in soft voices. Lena and Kai helped guide a few children to safe areas, showing gentle care that made the passengers smile. Later, a soft melody played from a small piano in the lounge carriage. Lena's curiosity led her to sit beside it, while Kai watched from a nearby chair. "Do you play?" he asked. "Yes, a little," Lena replied. She began pressing the keys, creating a simple, cheerful tune. Kai listened, captivated by the gentle music. Soon, a few children joined, clapping along to the rhythm. Lena's smile widened as she noticed how music, like stories and invention, could bring people together. After the music, the train hosted a small social gathering in the lounge. Passengers shared snacks and drinks, chatting softly. Lena and Kai joined, their conversation flowing naturally despite the noise around them. Then, an announcement came from the conductor, a short dance to celebrate the journey and bring passengers together. Lena felt a little nervous but intrigued. Kai offered his hand. "Would you like to dance?" he asked. Lena hesitated for a moment, then took his hand. "Yes, I would like that." They moved to the small space cleared for dancing, the velvet seats around them glowing softly in the lamplight. At first, their steps were careful and awkward, but soon, they began to move in harmony. Laughter bubbled between them, and Lena felt a warmth in her chest she could not explain. Kai's hand was steady, his movements gentle, and she realized how comfortable she felt near him. As the music continued, Lena and Kai noticed how the other passengers were watching with smiles, enjoying the sight of two young people sharing such joy. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. No words were needed. The laughter, the gentle motion of the train, and the soft lights created a memory that would stay with them forever. When the dance ended, Lena and Kai returned to their seats, still holding hands for a brief moment before letting go. Both felt the quiet excitement of a new connection forming, something beyond friendship, something full of trust and care. The train moved on, rolling through forests, rivers, and open plains. Lena and Kai spent the rest of the afternoon discussing ideas, sharing small stories from their childhoods, and imagining how they could improve learning for others. Each conversation brought them closer, creating a bond built on respect, admiration, and growing affection. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Lena looked out the window and realized how much she had changed since boarding the velvet carriage. She felt brave, inspired, and connected not just to her own dreams, but to someone who shared them and believed in her. Kai's presence beside her made the journey brighter, and she knew that together, they could face anything the road ahead might bring. The morning air was cool as the velvet carriage rolled along the tracks, cutting through open fields and small forests. Lena and Kai sat together, sharing notes and ideas from their work on education. The carriage was lively with passengers, some reading quietly, others chatting softly, but Lena and Kai were focused on their conversation. Suddenly, a loud jolt shook the train, throwing a few papers from Lena's notebook onto the floor. Lena grabbed the edge of her seat, startled, while Kai stood quickly, looking around to make sure no one was hurt. "It's okay," he said calmly, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We just need to stay calm and follow the conductor's instructions." The passengers murmured anxiously as the train slowed. Lena could see the concern on their faces, especially the children, some of whom clutched their parents' hands tightly. The train had encountered a small problem with the tracks, and it would take time for the engineers to fix it. Kai moved through the carriage, helping passengers steady themselves and calming the children with a gentle voice. Lena followed, guiding a few younger passengers to safe seats near the middle of the carriage. Together, they worked quietly and efficiently, helping everyone remain calm. Lena felt a strong sense of purpose, realizing that courage was not just about bravery, it was also about helping others when they needed it most. After making sure everyone was settled, Lena returned to Kai. "You handled that very well," she said, her voice filled with admiration. Kai smiled, a little tired but determined. "You too. You were brave, Lena. I don't think everyone would have stayed calm like you did." They sat together again as the train continued to shake slightly over uneven tracks. The engineers were working quickly to fix the problem, but the passengers remained alert. Lena noticed a small child trembling beside her, holding a favorite stuffed toy. She reached out and took the child's hand gently. "It's okay," she said softly. "The train is safe, and everyone is here to help. You are brave, too." The child's eyes widened, and a small smile appeared. Lena realized that small acts of care could make a big difference, and she felt proud of herself for helping. Kai watched her quietly. "Lena, I think you have a special way of calming people. You make them feel safe." She blushed slightly and looked away, feeling warmth spread through her chest. There was a deep trust between them now, built not just on shared ideas and dreams, but on actions taken together in difficult moments. As the sun climbed higher, the engineers signaled that the train could continue. Slowly, the velvet carriage began to move again, and a soft cheer of relief passed through the passengers. Lena and Kai exchanged a look, both silently acknowledging the experience they had shared. Later, as the train glided smoothly along the tracks, they sat together in quiet reflection. Lena turned to Kai, her eyes thoughtful. "Today, I felt afraid, but I also felt strong. Because we helped each other and the others, I realized courage is not just about facing danger, it's about caring for those around you." Kai nodded. "Yes, Lena. And being with you, I feel braver too. I feel like I can face any problem if we work together." For a while, they simply watched the landscape roll past fields of green, sparkling rivers, and small villages dotted along the horizon. The carriage felt peaceful now, the earlier tension replaced with a quiet sense of accomplishment. As evening approached, the soft glow of the lamps inside the carriage reflected off the polished wood and velvet seats. Lena and Kai shared a small smile, feeling a closeness that had grown from shared challenges, quiet support, and unspoken understanding. Their hands brushed briefly as they passed a notebook back and forth, and both felt a gentle warmth that neither could ignore. Kai spoke softly. "I'm glad we met, Lena. On this train, during this journey. I feel like we are discovering more than just new ideas. We are discovering ourselves." Lena nodded, her heart full. Yes, and I feel the same. I think this journey is teaching us about friendship, trust, and courage. And maybe, something more. The train continued into the night, rolling steadily along the tracks. Lena leaned back in her seat, her thoughts filled with the day's events. She felt proud of their efforts, inspired by Kai's dedication, and quietly excited about the bond that had grown between them. The velvet carriage had become more than a train. It was a place where hearts, ideas, and courage could grow together. The velvet carriage slowed as the capital city came into view, its tall buildings sparkling in the morning sun. Lena pressed her hand to the window, watching the streets bustle with activity. The sounds of horses, carts, and people filled the air, a sharp contrast to the quiet fields and forests she had left behind. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This city held new opportunities, new challenges, and the promise of learning that she had dreamed about for so long. Kai sat beside her, also looking out at the city. "We made it," he said softly, a small smile on his face. "Our journey on the velvet carriage is ending, but I feel like the real adventure is just beginning." Lena turned to him, her eyes bright. "Yes, and I'm glad we shared this journey together. I feel like I've learned so much, not just about the world, but about courage, friendship, and trust. And, you've taught me more than I expected." Kai's smile widened. "And you've taught me, Lena. You helped me see things in new ways, and reminded me why my invention matters. I couldn't have asked for a better partner on this journey." As the train came to a full stop, passengers began gathering their belongings and preparing to step off. Lena and Kai carefully collected their suitcases, feeling the energy of the city around them. People moved quickly, carrying baskets and bundles, hurrying to their destinations. Lena's heart raced with anticipation, but she felt steady knowing Kai was beside her. They stepped down from the train together, the soft velvet seats now behind them but still fresh in their memories. The air smelled different here, filled with the scents of the city: fresh bread from bakeries, smoke from chimneys, and the faint perfume of flowers in street stalls. Lena inhaled deeply, feeling alive with possibility. "I think this city will be exciting," Lena said, adjusting her suitcase. "There are so many people, schools, and places to explore. I can't wait to begin my studies." Kai nodded. "And I can't wait to present my invention at the academy. Maybe we can even work together on projects to help children in villages. Our ideas can grow here." As they walked through the streets, Lena noticed children playing in the squares, books in their hands. She smiled, thinking about the small village school she had left behind, and the children she wanted to help. Kai noticed her smile and nudged her gently. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about the future," Lena replied. "And how much we can do if we work together. Education can change lives, and I want to be part of that change." Kai looked at her with admiration. "Then we will. Together." They continued walking, weaving through the busy streets and exploring the city. They saw schools, libraries, and small workshops where people worked on inventions and crafts. Every place inspired them, sparking new ideas and plans for their work. Lena imagined classrooms full of eager children, learning with joy and curiosity, while Kai pictured his invention being used to make lessons simpler and more fun. As the sun began to set, the city lights started to glow, reflecting in the windows and on the cobblestone streets. Lena and Kai found a quiet spot in a small park, where the sounds of the city softened into a peaceful hum. They sat on a bench, watching the last rays of sunlight fade behind the tall buildings. Kai turned to Lena. I'm glad we met on the velvet carriage. It wasn't just a train journey. It was a journey of learning, courage, and friendship. And I think it was the start of something more. Lena looked at him, her heart full. Yes, I feel the same. This journey changed me, and you've been a part of that change. I think, together, we can face anything and make a difference. For a while, they sat in comfortable silence, letting the city's energy surround them. The velvet carriage, the long roads, and the forests they had passed through felt like memories now, but they were memories filled with lessons, laughter, and shared dreams. Lena realized that while the train had brought her to the capital, it had also brought her to Kai, someone who believed in her, supported her, and shared her hopes for the future. As night fell, the city lights reflected in their eyes, and Lena and Kai stood up together, ready to face whatever came next. The velvet carriage had carried them on a journey of discovery, but now they would continue that journey on the streets of the capital, in classrooms, workshops, and hearts they could inspire. Hand in hand, they walked forward, excited for the future, filled with courage, hope, and the promise of new beginnings. The adventure was far from over, and together, Lena and Kai were ready to embrace it all.